Hi everyone, the most popular video on the channel was actually a comparison of my heat pump, my air source heat pump quotes, one from Octopus Energy and one from Heat Geek, because these are two major well-known players in the air source heat pump industry here in the UK. Octopus doing high volume, Heat Geek doing high quality with some of the highest performances of heat pumps and excellent design and heat loss calculations to make sure everything goes smoothly and you get the best performance, you get the best bang for your buck. Now that came out as Octopus quoting me £6,000 initially for my heat pump, and the Heat Geek offering me 13.5. Now, the Octopus deal was incredible at the time, but technically they couldn't do it. They thought my heat loss for my property, this Victorian terrace with a rear extension that's more modern, this little lean-to you can see behind me with cavity walls, but this is all solid brick, was 11.8 kilowatts. And they did do a 12 kilowatt Daikin heat pump, a Japanese brand that's really well known in the air conditioning slash heat pump world. But they were concerned that with only 200 watts between their predicted and what the unit could put out, that they might have made a slight calculation error and it wouldn't quite heat the home, and that might be unsatisfied. So they said they wanted actually a 2 kilowatt buffer. 1800 watts more buffer than we had. So they wouldn't do it, and they didn't do a 14 kilowatt option or a 13 or whatever. At the time they didn't want to do it because they're going for like high volume, easy work, so that they can sell as many as possible and have the least errors as possible. I suspect they're really sensitive to bad PR on this because they're sort of pushing it as a national strategy and part of their business plan. So they really don't want things going wrong. I perceive, I don't know. Now, Heat Geek were £13,500, and actually I really trusted my local firm. I've seen some of their YouTube videos explaining, how they understand low temperature heating, how they've installed air source heat pumps in people's homes, and I really kind of thought, well, this is really great quality, and the guy's really quite charming and a really good presenter. And if you really want to look up who I had, it was Green Home Heating. I'm only saying good things about them. You can look up their YouTube channel and just see some of their work. And even one of them, they had some of the electrical work criticised as to where they put a junction box, where they put the, I don't know what the technical word is, but the isolator switch. So you can turn it off, isolator switch. And an electrician commented that's the wrong place. And then they made another video about how they went back and fixed it. So I think it's just really, it just shows the character of people when they take criticism so well and they rectify any wrongs for their customers. So that just shows you, that's a company that you can trust. That's a person you can trust. And the quality of the work just looked exemplary. So that's what I really wanted. But here's my wallet. Does it have £13,500 in? No, it did not at the time. And this was only sort of 5 months ago. And they said they could install it in March. They had the time, that's where their order book was up to. We got them round in about January, I think, to size things up. It's obviously July now, and this is where the heat pump would have been. We've been saving money. Me and my partner are lucky, me and my wife are lucky to have had promotions recently, so we are saving money. But this is clearly my passion. My wife's not making a video about how that we should really get an air source heat pump. She's got other priorities for our money. So of the money we can save, I have saved some, I'm about halfway or 2/3 to saving that £13,500. So why am I making this video now? Well, I'm explaining to maybe about the 100 people who subscribed after I made that video why there is not an air source heat pump sitting here. But also, in addition, we've had an update, and that update is I spotted on the Octopus app, and I'll try and pop it up on the screen now for you, but I can perhaps show you on the app itself on my phone, is that Octopus are offering 15% off, which is obviously quite attractive. And then I clicked on there and I got a quote done online. Now, I don't think they necessarily honour these quotes. If there's a technical detail, that means these quotes need to be changed. This is what their typical Cosy install looks like. So this is what they say, and I'll pop this up on the screen so it looks a bit better and you can read it better and it's in focus. But what they say is that you get an Octopus Cosy heat pump expertly configured for your home, so matching your heat loss. You get 1 Cosy Hub controller and 4 Cosy Pod sensors. So they're not thermostats, because you don't necessarily want them turning off in quite the way that thermostats work as an on-off, but they're sort of temperature controllers. So they are controllers that you can set the temperature to conveniently in different parts of your home, so you don't necessarily have to walk to one particular room where a temperature sensor is, or where you can adjust the heating demand. And that you get a standard installation with pipe work and electrical work, and a compatible water cylinder and any necessary radiators. In the past, when I did my Octopus versus HeatGeek video, and Octopus said they would do up to 12, included in the cost that they price, but this just says any necessary radiator changes. They promise you 24/7 aftercare with their professionals, and an 8-year guarantee on the Cosy heat pump kit, and 2-year guarantee on all of the parts and labour. So what they've done is they've diversified. So they have 2 different levels of installs. Now, the HeatGeek, as I explained before, I got them to design to a 45-degree temperature, because I knew that would get me a good performance, so that I knew that it would be cheaper than gas to run. Because that's what you want. If you're going to make a switch to a novel new technology but pay a lot of money, then you really want to make sure that what you're getting is superior. And part of what makes air source heat pumps, or heat pumps in general, superior is that you've got to get the flow temperature low. So you don't have a boiling hot radiator, but it puts out the same amount of heat as a boiling hot radiator by being bigger, at a lower flow temperature. So what we were going to go for is 45 degrees, because it was achievable through our pipes, and it was achievable in terms of what the radiator size would be, what the result afterwards would be. Now, Octopus have diversified from their original install. They would always go for a 50 degrees flow temperature as a sort of balance between good performance and easy to install and the least radiator changes needed. So it would cope with smaller pipes, etc., and it would cope with smaller radiators. But now they've diversified. They're calling that the 50 degrees, which is already worse than what HeatGeek would do, as their eco install. Eco means you might have a higher install cost because you might need more radiators, but you'll get a better performance factor in terms of the SCOP, which means kind of the ratio of heat produced to electrical input. So you kind of want 4, because electricity is 4 times the price of gas. So they wouldn't be achieving that. They're just going for over 3, maybe 3.5. So that is what their eco install is. They've diversified and they've got a turbo install, meaning that they can do it cheap. Do you want to call it nasty? That's probably a bit harsh, but cheap and quick, maybe. And so that will have a lower SCOP of maybe 3, a SCOP of 3, meaning that without some tariff magic, it would be more expensive than gas to heat your home. And that's already on the fact that the heat pump will be on a lot more than a gas boiler, and you can't really do on-off. So for the person in heat poverty who can't afford to heat their home at all and only puts it on for half an hour first thing in the morning and half an hour when they get home at night, just to get a quick blast of heat in and then have it off, if you went for a turbo install, you would have to have your heat pump on 16 hours a day, and you would be getting less efficient results from that, and any amount of heat that you get out would be possibly only just breaking even or under breaking even with gas, so maybe suboptimal. But it is a bit cheaper. So let's compare my initial quote. So my initial quote was with Octopus, and I was stimulated to do it because I'd seen an advert for them saying there was 20% off if you had a smart meter with them around Christmas time, in the couple of weeks before Christmas. So if you inquired with them in those couple of weeks and set up for a heat pump install, then they were going to give you 20% off. So my £6,000 might have become 5. Now, their upgrade for this turbo install is 4,800 as their base price. Don't know if that is going to include the 15% off. Might get 15% off that as well. So I haven't done the maths on that in my head, but 10% is 400. So instead of 4,800, it'd be 4,400, and then a bit off of that again, so 4,200 perhaps. Hopefully my maths is right and I don't embarrass myself. But the eco install is only 5,700, so a little bit lower than that £6,000 quote last Christmas. And if you take 15% off that, 500, 5.5 is about £5,000, so about the same price as the 6 with the 20% off. Ish, so it's about £5,000. So obviously that's quite attractive. And actually, if I just come back and sit down before my old man legs gives up, I've got that money saved up right now. So what's better, heat pump now or better, more performance heat pump in 6 months when I've saved up probably another £6,000. So decisions. Why don't you let me know what you would do in the comments? Would you go with Octopus Turbo for cheap, easy install, nice and quick, less radiator changes, less fuss and faff, and it can be done really quickly and it's rather cheap and you've already saved the money? Or would you go for the Octopus Eco install to get a higher performance factor and a SCOP that might be much more likely to be competitive with gas, and you still get the great EV tariff that means that all weekend, if I plug in my car out the back here, I could probably run the heat pump off just 7p electricity all weekend, for example. Or would you save up more of your hard-earned savings and go for the Heat Geek install? Now, I could actually go back to the Heat Geek website and just see if their install prices have come down through their sort of conglomerate MCS umbrella group, for which my local firm do business with and have done their courses, which is why I'm saying Heat Geek. But actually, when I contacted them, it was just direct and not through Heat Geek themselves. Or would you go, would you go for that local firm who you've got trust with and you know that will get you definitely a SCOP over 4? And so they were quoting 4.1 or 4.2, and they said all their installs so far, when they've quoted 4, they've got slightly higher. So I've got lots of decisions to make. Why don't you give me some advice in the comments below and let me know what you would do. But yeah, even though we've had promotions and things, it's not an easy decision to make the kind of decision on a £13,000 spend. The other thing that's been holding us back has been the house. Although we've got a 5-bedroom home and we only kind of need 3, we've got a 4th for an office, and having a 5th has been really nice to easily have family up because we live so far away from family. But we don't really have an adult living room. We don't really have a utility room. This is our utility room. It'd be where the cylinder goes, the hot water cylinder goes, and it's just not quite big enough. We're just sort of been umming and ahhing about whether to move to a bigger place, whether to move to a warmer place. Because although I'm 100% sure that the air source heat pump will keep our home lovely and warm during the winter, it is still going to leak a lot of that heat and we are still going to be spending more money. The estimate from my Heat Geek was that it would take a heat demand of around 20,000 kilowatt hours of heat that could be supplied by about 5,000 kilowatt hours of electricity, and that might cost me around £2,000 on the price cap tariff. Now, if, for example, over the weekend and winter, I'm plugging in, instead of paying 25, 28p, whatever price cap is now, I'm paying 7p from my EV tariff, that £2,000 suddenly comes down to a lot lower. And if that was all day, every day, that 2,000 would come down to 500 just from the difference between paying 28 and paying 7p for electricity. Obviously, I use my car to drive to work, and the car's not going to be here during the day for 4 days a week. So actually wouldn't achieve that price at least half the time. So maybe £1,000 a year and that's not bad actually to have a lovely warm house all year. I think that could work out very well. And the electricity here is in the northeast is just so green, with the Norwegian interconnector coming over in Blythe, and supplying like Norwegian hydroelectricity. We've got a fair amount of wind here, and Dogger Bank is about to come online through Teesside, so we'd have even more wind energy and even more green energy feeding our heat pump. You know, not 100%, but quite a high proportion. So decisions, why don't you help me make it? Give me some advice below, and if you've got a heat pump, why don't you tell everyone all your great experiences about it, or any hiccups or headaches you've had with it. One of the reasons I really want to do it and really want to go ahead is that, you know, this is a Victorian solid wall property, and one of the myths about heat pumps is that these places can't get one. So I want to prove that wrong, and I want to show it, demonstrate it myself. I want to sort of live up to my eco principles, and you know, being able to show you the stats from my own experience with my own money is kind of really important to me. So I really want to get our carbon footprint down, and I think this is the best way to do it. So if you've got any motivations for getting an air source heat pump, why don't you let me know? I'm going for warmer house. I'm going for renewable electricity, reduce my carbon footprint, and ultimately, you know, add value to my house. So let me know what you think below. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. Now, I always finish the videos with a little pitch for some of my referral codes. If you want to switch to a green electricity company, why don't you use my code below for Octopus Energy? We split £100, you get 50, I get 50. Look at the code below. If you've got an electric vehicle and you want to charge it on the road, why don't you get an Octopus Electroverse app? You can get an RFID card for seamless payment for EV chargers on the move, and you even get a 8% discount if you've got a home charger with Octopus through, you know, the Octopus Intelligent Tariff. So look up Octopus Electroverse and use my code below when you first download the app, and I hope that's useful. There's a couple more. We'll just quickly do Instavolt. Instavolt are the UK's biggest EV charging company, and the sad thing about them is they're quite expensive at most of their sites during the day. I think it's now 89p a kilowatt hour, which is just ridiculous. It's more than 12 times what I pay at home to charge. But you can get a free fiver if you use my code below, and actually after 7 p.m. in the evening it goes down to 54p, which is very affordable, and is on the sort of price parity with a lot of petrol cars. So yeah, use my Instavolt referral code below. Last one, I've got a lot of my electrical items, including my Google Pixel 7 mobile phone and a couple of other things around the house, through this second-hand website called Back Market. So it's sort of, if you break your phone and you send it away and get a new one sent under sort of your insurance, that broken phone will go to a local shop where it can get repaired, and then it gets resold and you just get a new one sent. So why don't we reduce e-waste by, once those phones are repaired, etc., we can send them out. So use my Back Market code below, you get a tenner off any item, and I get a bit of credit as well. And we just reduce e-waste. So I think it's a fabulous website. And if they say they're excellent, they're scratch-free, they work great, the battery lives are great, and there's loads of items that you can get. Okay, thanks for your patience, everyone. Thanks for sticking with me, and let me know what you would do. Which heat pump should I get? Octopus Turbo, Octopus Eco, or Heat Geek? What would you do? Let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks, guys.